to the Experience More Tour. We're excited that you've opted in to join us today and be with us for this it's going to be a really fun discussion with Britt Berg from REI Co-op brand, a senior designer, and it's really special to be able to get to talk with Britt today. With that, I'd like to bring up Britt Berg. Britt is a senior designer at REI Co-op and somebody that we've been lucky enough to talk with over the years as new products have dropped from the REI Co-op brand featuring GORE-TEX technology. And so we have a new one coming out, or that's just released, and therefore we've got Britt here to talk about it. Britt, how are you today?
Super. It's a beautiful day in Mount Vernon, Washington.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, it's not always clear. Although you're in the rain shadow of the Olympics there, so you get better weather than maybe you might get slightly south. So, Britt, what is your official title at REI?
Senior designer on the apparel team, and my focus is the outerwear. I do the range of the technical outerwear, so snow, backpack, hike, and lifestyle goods. And that ranges from the storm hinge to the first chair into magma, terrace, and hyperstretch.
So a lot, right? You're looking at that holistic line and just kind of trying to create the variability and the products that the co-op customers need, which has got to be an interesting way to approach that. So today we're going to be talking about one in the offering that is GORE-TEX, and maybe we'll help to differentiate that a little bit from some of the other products. But before we dive into the actual products, what has been your career path to get you where you are today? You have an awesome job, and what brought you here?
Kind of a weird career path. Rather than going to college, I went snowboarding. Did that for about 10 years. And to support myself, so I would snowboard in the winter. I was a liftie at Baker and Mission Ridge. Then, because I have a little bit of background on boats, family had sailboats, I got into the merchant marine and worked on small cruise ships between Seattle and Southeast or all Southeast Alaska. Both of those jobs put me in some pretty interesting weather, as you can imagine. And after doing that for about 10 years, I decided time for something else. Let's bring it all together. Because I thought that whole time I'd been snowboarding a bunch, hiking when I could. I'm a mountain biker, and wanted to channel that knowledge and my curiosity about materials and design, and went to school at Seattle Central, graduated, and then I've been with REI now for 13 years after a couple stops with some other local companies.
Hey, landed a good gig then, right? Which is pretty cool. And once you find that, you got to stick with it.
It's
Um,
amazing.
and so, working with the co-op brand, you've done it now for quite some time, but you also have experience in the rest of the industry. I'm sure you have friends who are also designers in other parts of the industry. What do you think, from your perspective, is unique about working with the co-op brand?
I think it's the membership, from initial concepting to testing products. We get member feedback as much as we can. So I read every review. As soon as I get a brief, I'm like reading every review. What are the pros and cons of a product? We have some internal testing teams. So once we actually have physical samples, we can send those out. And that's with a mix of green vests and members. And then we also have an internal testing team that gets, or an internal like data team, that will get feedback and information, from products that don't exist to products that already do exist. So being able to get that like small d democratic design is pretty amazing.
Right. So, really leveraging the REI membership to help you to understand what to do, or how to tune, really, and how to tweak some of your ideas. And I think that is unique, right? You have access to your end use customer in a way that I think a lot of brands don't have access. And as we know, the membership can be quite vocal, which is helpful.
Hmm.
And it's cool to hear that you were reading all the reviews, right? You're looking at all those feedback loops and being able to incorporate that into your design, which we are calling democratic design. I think that's really a fascinating way to approach that.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, go
one
ahead.
other thing I can add to that, it's like it's very, collaborative, and like collective design in a way. And plus we really we leverage that into the fit by putting it on a lot of different bodies, which we'll get into a little bit later.
Yeah, that is fascinating, right? And that's part of when you're designing. I mean, I know you don't do fit exactly, but you sort of do, right? You work with the team, and to sort of figure out how to best fit your customer, which is your membership, right? Again, having access to them and their needs is really crucial instead of having to guess. It's pretty nice. And so getting to the co-op brand again? Like, what's one aspect of the co-op brand you wish kind of everybody here knew, maybe that they don't know, or maybe some assumptions that are out there that are wrong, that you just want to, a message you want to get out there to everyone listening today.
Definitely that we build everything from the ground up, from materials like working with Gore. We have our own like design codes and like the way we want things to look. We have an internal team of about, I think, 7 or 8 designers that do everything from select the yarn in the socks to the fabric for the fleeces, etc. And we work collectively. We share like the team will know like TrailMade, the team will know Swiftland, and we identify our own design languages and the way we want things to look, pulling often from either vintage REI or more recent REI. So things have a beautiful flow that it's like a very almost identifiable REI visual architecture. And so that's everything from, selecting trims with our trim team, and as I said, materials. And then we work closely across the team to make sure that everything has like an identifiable REI look. And it is all holistically REI from the get-go.
Yeah, that brand language is interesting, right? And it shows itself, and sometimes it's hard to even put words to it, at least for me, from an outsider. But how is that? Can you put some words to it? How is the brand language expressed in this product? What are some of the words you might put to it?
Well, specifically with the terrace, like some very identifiable things is I looked back at our Stormbolt, which was a 3L gore that we did. I think we started that one in like maybe 2018. And it has these like catenary curves. It has like a slightly dropped shoulder. It has this like deeper yoke, etc. That the Stormbolt then rolled into another product that's not gore, waterproof, breathable, and down-filled, the Storm Henge. And the team will know that that's all a little bit, may know, that speaks back to our traverse design language, which we have in packs, which we've had in tents, etc. So some of those details are cues across the line that speak to, oh yeah, this is this, durable workhorse thing that is built with integrity and durability.
Yeah, that's cool to see and cool to hear, right? Bringing in some of those heritage pieces and seeing that throughout the line, and it shows, right? I mean, your products have a look, whether that be from the design standpoint or even from the color. Although color evolves, right, year to year as our color tastes evolve, but you always seem to be able to figure out a color that works for everybody, which is really cool to see. Well, let's get in a little bit more specifically about GORE-TEX products, right? At your tenure at REI, which has been quite some time, you've been able to bring quite a few GORE-TEX products to light. Like, can you run through your anthology of some of the GORE-TEX products that you've been able to bring to us?
I was lucky to be the designer in seat when we brought Gore-Tex back in.
Mhm.
So Stormbolt, Dry Point, Vapor Rush, Norquest, First Chair. Since we brought Gore-Tex back in about almost a decade ago,
Yeah,
I've been lucky to be the hand on that. So yeah, all of those products. Oh, and of course, Zero Dry.
yeah. Don't forget Zero Dry.
Yeah,
That was a banger right there, right? That was a good one. So,
totally.
and how has that experience of working with Gore affected kind of what we might see today? Like, what are some of the learnings along the way that you've picked up and been able to apply, specifically working with Gore-Tex product?
Well, specifically with Gore-Tex, ensuring durability, longevity, and I'll speak to this style specifically.
Yeah,
It was a little bit of boiling down to the essence of what a 2-layer backpacking, hiking, daily driver shell needed to be. Um, it's it has the key look. It has the Gore-Tex on the sleeve, has the water-resistant center front zipper. So again, it just like really says I'm waterproof. And then chest pocket, hand pockets, hem drop cord, adjustable cuff, and adjustable hood, which I can demo a little bit more later
yeah. We'll
on.
get into the feature set for sure in just a second.
But just really getting it to like, what is the essential feature set that we want to get into this product and out into the world? Knowing that, so the hand pockets are not waterproof, and we can talk about the Gore rain room testing,
Yeah.
but ensuring that all of the details are designed to Gore's specs to ensure longevity and durability.
Well, let's begin with the feature set. Let's go through it. I love getting a tour of the garment with the designer, right? It was really a special opportunity. And then maybe after that, we'll look into a little bit about how these needed to be adjusted to be able to fit into the Gore-Tex end use sort of test that we're going to run, right? We don't tell you how to design it, but we are going to run some tests on it, so you have to consider those as you design it. But let's just go straight into the features. I know there's, this is a $249 jacket, right? Which is relatively low price point for GORE-TEX. So meaning that you had to be a little minimal in your approach, but this is not a minimalist jacket. You were able to incorporate quite a few really cool features. So maybe run us through it. Let's see what happened.
It was a good time. It was, threw a lot of things at the wall to see what would stick, and, paired it back to like, what does this need to be? We really wanted this to be, while launching in spring, a 4-season jacket. So first we chose a 150D shell material that we also use in the first chair. And when I say 150D, that means like the diameter of the yarn that is in the face fabric. And this is a polyester face. So the bigger the D, the bigger the fabric, the more burly and tough it is. For
Yeah, to put
example,
that in perspective, like Gore supplies fabrics that are anywhere from 13 up to 200, right? So 150 is definitely on the sort of burlier side of things, although not fully maximalist, right? It has that, so that nice feel. Whereas,
it
yeah,
goes up to like 250, 220
yeah, we can
maybe.
get into reinforcements and get really big. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So with this one, we chose this material because we wanted to build a style that had this, just like this sense of, not quite protection, but we wanted it to feel tough. As the team knows, we're launching in the same season, the Zero Cloud, which is a non-Gore 3-layer. That one is definitely minimalist, super lightweight.
Yeah.
I forget, that one's like 38 GSM face fabric, so really lightweight face fabric. And then this one is, I want to say like around 170. So, heavier,
That's
like,
grams per square meter is what you're referring to. That's the actual weight, which is semi-related to the denier, but not necessarily perfectly related. Anyway, go on.
yeah, so exactly. What Marshall's saying is like, if we cut a square that's a meter, weight it, how much is it?
Yeah.
And so this is a, tougher, and we wanted it to feel like this is gonna last. So if any of you know the first chair, it's the material that we use on the upper body of both men's and women's. So has a great hand feel, and we know it's an amazing material because it's Gore, and there's a lot of love for the first chair. In some of the details, I'll start with the cuffs. I've been cuff obsessed recently. We've got not minimal, but like a smaller, less chunky hook and loop. And something that we've worked on and used on many of our styles is what we call an active cuff. And what that means is that the sleeve is a tiny bit shorter at the wrist, tiny bit longer at the top of the hand, so that when you're wearing it, water runs down the sleeve. When it's raining out, it's going to drip off and it's not going to always land right on your hand. But it gives you just a tiny bit more mobility since your wrist bends from the inside. So just, thinking, how does this work anatomically? As noted, that water resistant Vislon centerfold zipper that's nice and easy running. And again, just says I'm waterproof. Plus it has the Gore on the sleeve as shown. We used a pretty similar hood from the first chair, as there was a lot of love for this pretty easy hood adjustment. So underneath these little pockets, we have a little draw cord and a cord lock, but we made it so that you can very easily, just by pulling the cord from the inside of the jacket, that's how you can snug it down around your face and then zip up, and you don't have like rabbit ears or extra cording sticking out. So just, keeping it nice and clean. With this one, it does have a hem draw cord to seal in heat. That's something that I don't think we talk about enough, but one way that you can keep yourself warmer on the trail is just by pulling in the draw cord at the hem, which you can't see because my desk is too tall. And that ensures that you're keeping just more body heat in the jacket for when it's really cold outside. I often do this hiking, backpacking, snowboarding, etc. And you can really feel it. It's like, oh, all of a sudden I am warmer. 2 hand pockets that are a little bit higher on the body. That's intentional so that if we're wearing a hip belt on our backpack, things aren't falling all the way down to the hem. Say I've got my chapstick, I put it in my pocket. And then if I'm wearing a hip belt, if your pocket goes all the way down to the hem, that chapstick can get stuck under your hip belt, which is pretty annoying. So by orienting the hand pockets a little bit higher on the body, we're negating that issue. Then we have chest pocket a little bit lower. And again, this one was fit specifically with a pack. So sternum strap hits here, easy access into that chest pocket. And then we have pit zips, single slider from the top opens up to dump heat so that you dump heat before you even start sweating. Another easy way to regulate heat, same with the draw cord at the hem. And with this one fun little detail is some of you may have noticed on our jackets, zero cloud, zero dry, we have this kind of bigger, chunkier bead at the back that has a hook. And that's intentional so that if you want, you can roll the hood down, grab that hook, loop it around the locker loop, and you can secure your hood so it's not flapping around if it's super windy.
Those are some of the features, right, that you're able to put in, and that adding in pit zips. I know that's a big ask from folks, and it's a consideration because it does add cost, and adds a little bulk to the jacket. But this jacket is not designed to be absolutely a lightweight minimalist jacket. It's designed to be your everyday driver, and then you were able to somehow figure out how to make that work, which is pretty cool from a cost perspective. So really cool to have it in there when you are in a warmer condition. You can open up that hem draw cord, open up the pit zips. So you get a little bit of air mobility and be able to dump heat quickly in that garment.
Yeah. And this is definitely a style, like the design brief that I got from my strategy partner, Tim, was hiking and backpacking. But with all these features, this could be snowshoeing. This could be, if you want a jacket that can do everything, this can be ski. This can be all these different things. It doesn't have all the same features as a very ski specific style, like our first chair that does have a helmet friendly hood. The first chair also has the internal snow gaiter. The hood on the Terrace is not helmet compatible. It's definitely fit to go over a beanie, different hair types, but it's not the big hood to go over either a climbing or a ski helmet.
Right, which
But
is what
again, like
this
you
customer doesn't want that, right? If you have your daily driver rain jacket, that's not what you want. So
totally.
yeah, I really see this as your just like when somebody comes in and just needs a rain jacket, right? And wants something that they can wear around town and take it hiking and take it backpacking and maybe take it up snowshoeing, right? This is the go-to when you want that choice that has a lot of longevity. Because the Gore-Tex adds sort of that additional longevity and additional guarantee in this product.
Hmm.
It's a really cool piece, and the two layer also I think really helps it to be that jacket. It's easy to don and doff because you can have that really nice polyester taffeta on the inside that has a really nice next to skin feel, which the three layers can't quite accomplish. It's cool that way. And so I have this great teaching asset, and I just want to show the audience a little bit about two layer versus three layer because I think there's a bit of a misunderstanding about how all that works. And so I have this prototype jacket that Gore built, and this is a teaching asset. So what it is basically there's a face fabric here, right, which is this gray material. And in the case of the Terrace, that would be a 150D polyester. And then we laminate to the underside of this face material. Gore-Tex laminates our EPE PFAS-free membrane, which is our newest membrane. And so that is directly laminated to the underside of this. Now you can't see it in a general jacket because we sort of spec out that can't be exposed in the next to skin layer. Otherwise it would get worn down. It also just wouldn't be very comfortable next to skin. And so we spec out that in something like a two layer where we have the face and the laminate, or so the face and the membrane laminated together, and that's all we do at our end. Then we spec out that we need to have this kind of hanging liner on the inside of the garment. And in this case, this is kind of a waffle fleece a little bit. In the case of Britt's jacket, she spec'd out a really nice poly taffeta that has just a nice silky feel to it. Now in this garment, there's a pass-through. Let me find it right here that we've put in. Normally a jacket wouldn't have this. So you can actually then look inside the garment, and I'll pull out the inside of it here. And here you can see this is where you can directly see the membrane. That's this silver color. EPE is colorized silver, so we can tell it. And you can even see some of the seam taping that we do on a two layer, right? So two layers with a hanging liner on the inside. Now, this space on the inside is kind of cool because that leaves space for some creativity. Things like pocket bags, things like insulation. In the case of the Terrace, insulation wasn't added, but two layer does give a lot of flexibility. Britt, what do you like about working with two layer products?
Well, first, I like that you use the term donning and doffing.
Okay.
So basically, that means easier on and off.
Yes.
With the terrace, we chose a fully recycled package, another way that we could cue to REI's sustainability. So our face fabric is recycled poly, and so we chose a recycled poly, like really nice taffeta lining, as Marshall called out. Same lining as we use on the first chair to kind of, like make our material footprint just a little bit smaller and share across styles.
Hmm.
It definitely makes it more comfortable. You can think about the fact that, yeah, it's like a three layer has a little bit more, often has a little bit more build, especially more build in something that would be as thick as this, the 150D that we use. So it's a little bit more flexible. It's a little bit more soft.
Hmm.
It can be a little bit quieter, not as loud. So those are some details. And also it has more dead airspace in between the layers. So you have like, again, a little bit more comfort, which is, like anything we can do to make this more comfortable, so that you're wearing it more often, we build into it.
Yeah, the two layer is really great that way. I mean, it's just truly comfortable. Is it the
Oh,
most packable jacket? No, there's other garments for that if really you want something that's just extremely packable. But if you want something that's extremely wearable, I really think two layer is becomes that go-to piece to use. And it is not quite as costly to purchase, right? Two layer costs less from Gore than three layer does, and so that can help lower the price point of the garment as well, which is
which
another
was a
consideration.
huge part of the build of this style. It's like, how can we get a two-layer gore style out there for this price? And we did a great job, I believe. The team from fit, color, etc., nailed it. You had asked me about, two-layer pocketing, etc. In
Hmm.
a three-layer, everything is exposed. You have to
Right.
design the outside of the jacket, and you have to design and, be very careful and cognizant of what the inside looks like. And as Marshall said, with a two-layer, it's, you're hiding some of the construction, which allows for maybe a little bit different pocket placement, because you're not seeing, all the seam tape, etc. With this style, we did minimal seaming, no shoulder seams. They're either, down here on the yoke or on the back, so that we don't get backpack abrasion on the seam. But again, minimal seaming, but the two-layer does allow a little bit more flexibility in the build.
Yeah, right. You know, when you think about the pocket bags, they can kind of hang in there. They don't need to be taped into the internal of the garment. Also, yeah, it just gives a little more flexibility for some of that, which is kind of nice. Well, we mentioned a little bit earlier that Gore does have these sort of what we call style qualification standards, right? So we will sell you the laminate, will help you select it, right? And then you're going to go ahead and do the full design, and then that prototype or the sample garment is going to go back to us to go through what we call our style qualification tests. And one of those that we talk about is the rain room test, where we put this jacket on a mannequin in a standardized rain room where we have a standardized amount of water coming from standardized places in the rain room for a standardized amount of time. And we check to make sure that the design features aren't wicking water to the inside. And so we have as especially designed base layers on our mannequins that if any water gets in, it gets highlighted. Often, jackets fail the first time around. A designer has a vision, and they come back to us, and we're like, well, your vision wasn't quite right with the way this cord enters the garment. We notice leakage there. Go back and fix it, and then we'll test it again, right? It's no big deal to fail, but it's sort of what that means is in the end, the product has passed our rain room spec to be completely waterproof. Now, Britt, that that's there, that's coming. How does that affect your approach to design when working with Gore-Tex products?
Well, I'll share with everyone. I've told Marshall in the past, I've had severe anxiety. I've never failed. We've never had any issues. And that was studying, especially with the first round of Gore that REI did, the Storm Bolt, the Zero Dry, the Vapor Rush. That was, really studying the Gore manual and ensuring, like, zippers are set far enough back, and, we're using the right width of wind flap or storm flap, etc. That, we have exposed top stitching is seam taped, etc.
Mhm.
So yeah, I was anxious, but we have never failed.
Yeah, are there any kind of cool little features that you build into this that really maybe helped to pass the rain room? Something where you were like, well, I'm actually going to rethink the way I do this a little bit to make sure
Yeah.
that this jacket truly is keeping water out.
One word, garages. So you can see that where the hood cord exit in the back is tucked under this little hood. We call this a garage, so that that eyelet underneath there that does enter into the inside of the jacket is completely covered.
Right.
Same with the front of the jacket here. The team will notice that we in the past and other brands have had eyelets that exit to the outside of the jacket. We designed those specifically so that there's the waterproof membrane behind it and that that waterproof membrane is completely seam taped so that if a little bit of water does get inside the eyelet, it stays inside the tunnel and eventually evaporates out.
Hmm.
So just ensuring that every detail is like thoughtful, backed up, and we back up our backups.
I love it. Back up our backups. Yeah, absolutely, and it shows, right, in the fact that you were continue to pass the first time around. That's a hard precedence to set. You got to keep that now. But again, a failure is not a failure, and it just means that we get another shot at it, right, with some of the feedback from Gore. But that's not a part of this that you've had to discover yet. Um, I want to talk a little bit about care, but before I do, um, let's actually talk a little bit about the team that has brought this to be because I do think that's a fascinating part of the co-op brand. What does your team consist of? How are you looking at bringing these, or how are you working with a team to bring these products to market?
So upstream of me is a strategy partner. His name is Tim, and I've been working with him the entire time I've been at REI, and he's awesome. Um, his role is to work with our merch team, and they figure out what we're going to make. And that's everything from how many socks to uh, which waterproof jackets and which one of those waterproof jackets will be Gore. So that's like a very like broad kind of vague, like this is what we're going to do. Then he distills the wants and needs into a product brief. And the product brief is it's going to be 249 and it's going to be made out of Gore-Tex and it's for this person and try to get these details in there, but nothing about how does it look or what color or there is a general fit, meaning with this, the terrace, the fit is just in our regular fit camp.
Yeah.
Then I get it. I get that brief and I go to town. I start drawing. I draw on our previous styles. We look at what's happening in the market, look back at what REI has done in the past, from, the early aughts to, the beginning of time 80 years ago. Well, not with Gore-Tex necessarily. But you look at all of these different places that we, the team, draws inspiration from. We take market trips where we're looking at the whole scope of, what is the outerwear market. And then I create some drawings. I share those up with my manager or my lead designer, Lauren, and my creative director, Nicole. And then once we land on that sketch that we're like, yep, this is where we want to go, we pull in Madeline, who's my development partner. And she is responsible for fit. I influence fit, and I'll be like, helmet needs to be, or hood friendly, sorry, start over. Helmet friendly hood needs to fit like this.
Hmm.
Cuff needs to be like this. So I influence, but she's the one who's actually entering the numbers into the system. Our first round isn't even a physical proto, that's a 3D. Madeline sends it off to the factory or she creates a 3D herself these days. And we take a look at it and we're like, let's move that yoke seam or let's like, zhuzh this or that. And then we're like, okay, now we make our first proto. We get our first sample, we put that on our regular sample size, men's medium, women's small, and we put that on extended sizes to make sure that like every detail from, the chest width, the bicep, sleeve length, etc., works for a lot of different people. So that's pretty much my immediate team. Then we also have a color team that's about 6 or 7 people now. They work in the future.
Right. They
For
do.
example, right now we're coloring out fall 26.
Yeah.
So that's where my brain is fall 26 and starting to design spring 27. So that's the team. And I'm kind of like the spider in the web. Some things I'm responsible for, but some things I'm just like pulling on, starting to be like, ooh, that'd be cool in orange. So yeah, that's my team and that's how I work with this rad crew.
Yeah, and I love that you've been working together for quite some time. So there's probably a really cool synergy between you all, and even a little mind reading, probably to some extent, which happens, which is pretty cool to work with a team that experienced. Well, we have some cool questions coming in, and I'm going to start with Whitney's question here around this. So, is this jacket an iteration from a specific REI design? She says that, or they say that customers or members often ask, which older designs could you compare this to? Maybe they've come in and like, I had my 20-year-old jacket's finally worn out. I want the same thing. Which one's most like it, or whatever that might be. But yeah, the question is, yeah, how much inspiration from older designs are you bringing into this?
Such a good question. I could talk about this for about an hour, but I won't.
Okay.
Because yeah, the iterations of anthology, the word that you used earlier is very real. Whitney, this is a brand new jacket. We haven't done a two layer with gore for backpacking and hiking. So there is no precedent in probably, well, in 20 years. There was a very long time ago, like in the 70s and 80s, sorry, 80s into maybe even into the 90s, that REI worked with Gore, but that was a really long time ago, totally different technology, totally different look and end use.
Mhm.
So the terrace is new, but when I was speaking before, it has some design cues from the Stormbolt. You can take a look at the current Storm Henge and you'll notice it has a similar yoke and similar pocket placements. So no, it's not an iteration of a previous jacket, but it does have some similarities. But I don't think that that would be something that our members would even notice. That's one of those things that we want to fly kind of under the radar and just be like, oh yeah, that's REI.
Mhm. Okay. No, that's helpful, and thank you for that. Another sort of series of questions coming in is around two layer versus three layer, right? And I think the customers are often wanting to understand this, and I think as sales
Mm-hmm.
associates, folks have to really be able to distill this for people. So, how does this compare? Like, we could compare it specifically to the zero cloud, but also Thea's asking about weight, packability, extended sizes, buyer use. So, does layer versus three layer affect all of these sort of dimensions of a garment?
I don't have a zero cloud in this room. I'm not going to go grab one. It is pretty different. The zero cloud, I don't know if any of you attended that training, but it's a significantly lighter style. That is a super lightweight 3L. So that's one where we have a nylon shell glued to a non-gore membrane, glued to a jersey backer. So it's all of the layers are um, attached to each other and just super lightweight. I think that one's, I want to say 38 GSM, which is crazy lightweight. That's like a fifth of what this one is.
Yeah.
Um, Pretty similar feature set in that when in designing the Zero Cloud, which is the riff off of Gore's no longer offering Packlight. So we're like, well, this is this amazing thing. We want to keep this cool idea going until Gore gives us Packlight again, please.
We're working
And
on it.
we're like, how can we bring something that's that good, but tweak it and upgrade it a little bit? So the Zero Cloud also has pit zips where the Zero Dry did not. And that was like a price differential in the material cost.
Yeah.
So Terrace significantly heavier, two layer, not packable into its own pocket, but I can share there's a packability
Hmm.
kind of hack that I can show the crew in a bit when we talk about some things. So Terrace heavier, Zero Cloud significantly lighter weight. Did I answer looking at the questions?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then around rainproofing, right? And
Mhm.
how waterproof is it? Is it a three layer more waterproof, less waterproof than a two layer?
The way the REI testing team considers it, they are as waterproof. It's when you get into some other factors like breathability, the DWR, and the comfort is going to be very different. And that's specific to a really lightweight three layer is going to let more heat out
Hmm.
than this heavier 170 or 150D terrace. So this heavier, thicker material is going to hold more heat in. So you're going to have convective cooling, which can be a good thing with the zero cloud. But the terrace, you're not going to have as much of that. So that's one other detail there.
Yeah, and so yeah, from a waterproofing standpoint, I can't speak to that jacket exactly, but know that everything with Gore is going to be 28,000 or 28K waterproof on initial waterproofness and after extended simulated aging, right? That's one thing with Gore is we really focus on what's going to happen 10 years, 15 years down the line to this garment. Will the membranes remain waterproof? And with Gore, I can say they will. I'm sure whatever you're using in the Zero Cloud is also great. I just don't know what the testing standards are on that. So with Gore, I can share that and know that it's going to be extremely waterproof for a long time, which is what
Hmm.
you get with Gore, and we guarantee it. In fact, after the 1 year REI return policy, we back it up for the lifetime of the original purchaser of the garment. as long as they wash and dry the jacket, which is what we're going to get into next. But before we do, we have one more question here from Tom. What was the thought process for using 150D in this jacket? You could have chosen others, but you went with 150.
We considered a lot. There was like I think it says, yeah, 75D was the other one. But really, when bringing this one to market, as I said, this is launching in spring, but the intention, this is a 4-season jacket. And so a 75D is, half the thickness of a 150. And we just wanted that really protective feeling so that we have this really, big gap in the spectrum, terrace over here and the zero cloud over here,
Mm-hmm.
with leaving ourselves a lot of room in the middle for future styles that will be coming to market over the next couple of years. So it's like, that's the greatest gap, with lots of room in the middle to fill in.
Hmm. Hint, hint.
Can't say anything, but yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, thanks, Tom, for the question. Thanks, Britt, for that answer. I started to touch on wash and care, and I do think that's something in most of my events where I'm going to be talking about garments this season. I do want to punctuate wash and care as an absolutely necessary part of the commitment from the consumer after purchasing this jacket, right? We, Gore, you, Britt, and Co-op do a lot of work on the front end, with huge commitment to making the best products, testing, bringing to market, making sure quality is there. But the consumer's job is to now take care of this product after they get it. And it is simple as washing and drying it frequently. Really, especially with this 150D, you don't need to baby this jacket by any means. It is burly. For any end use you're gonna take it out in, but you do need to wash it. So there's two reasons for that. And the first one I'll just throw out there: the more you wash it, the more you get contaminants out of the guts, the internals of the jacket, and the longer the jacket's gonna last. It's just a fact of life. More washing equals longer lifespan or useful life of the garment. You really can't overwash it from that respect. The other one is around DWR, right? And these garments now that are coming are all PFAS free. And so what that means is the PFAS has been removed from the membrane, and honestly, that's a hot swap. EPE is pretty remarkable in what we've been able to achieve as far as still high performing. It's a little bit lighter, so it's a little bit more supple. But the membrane itself being PFAS free, not really a huge noticeable change for the customers. But in DWRs, and this is industry wide, PFAS free means they're no longer oleophobic, meaning that they will contaminate much quicker from usage in the field. Oleo is oil. Oils are the sort of the type of contaminants that affect DWRs the most. No, I'm not talking about auto oil. I'm talking about skin oil, sandwich oil, trees. All contaminants contain some form of oils in them, and those are going to affect the DWR on the surface of the fabric. Again, they won't hurt the membrane. The membrane is solid. It will be durably waterproof through the life of the jacket no matter what, but you will see wet out on the face of these garments a little faster than maybe what customers who had a jacket from 10 years ago came to expect. Again, that does not affect the waterproofness, but we all like the water to beat up and roll off. And so these jackets are washable, right? That removes the contaminants, and then they can actually be put in the dryer as well, as they should be, because that dry cycle, in fact, it's the 20 minutes of dryer cycle after the garment's already dry, that heat reactivates the initial DWRs that we add onto these garments that we formulated very specifically for these garments. And so a wash and a sort of extended dry cycle will really revitalize those DWRs so that your jacket's ready to go for the next use. But when you're thinking about designing a jacket and the fact that we know it has to be washed and dried, are there any considerations you're making when choosing components, when looking at it to make sure that it can be washed and dried?
Absolutely. Using trusted YKK zippers. And because we've been working with these styles for quite some time, ensuring that the construction is just bomber, ready to go.
Right? So looking at all components that can withstand not only the wash cycle, but also the heat of a dryer so that they aren't going to break down in a dryer. Now that equation might change when we get into insulated jackets because some insulations are sensitive to the dryer, but in the case of this jacket, that is not the case. And yeah, so ensuring that all the components can be put in the washer and dryer, and then the way it's assembled using seam tapes and things like that that can withstand heat as well. And Gore seam tape, which is our proprietary seam tape, which must be used on Gore jackets, can definitely withstand the heat of the dryer. The little air gun that shoots air at the seam tape to melt it, runs it around sort of minimum 500 degrees Fahrenheit because the melting point of the seam tape is 350. And that is way hotter than your dryer is really gonna get into this if you use medium heat in your dryer. So super safe to wash it. So really, we're asking you all to get out there and inform customers because we know they have anxiety around washing jackets. In fact, I want to launch a quick poll because we're actually trying to collect data from you all out there in the field as to why you think customers might have some anxiety or hesitation around washing their garments. Just choose one of these answers that best suits what you think. I know all of these might be relevant, but what's your top one today? And really looking for some of this data for us to understand at Gore how to best message this to customers. How can we break down their number one anxiety? And so thank you for the responses on this. This is great. Any other questions you all have for Britt? Again, she is a designer in all things outerwear, meaning layers that you would wear on the outside, so some insulation layers as well. Anything you have for her? We have access to Britt right now. It's pretty special. Britt, thank you again for making time for us. We really appreciate it. Anything you have for her before we wrap up this call?
Can I share the packability hack?
Oh yeah, that's something we should definitely talk about, right? And this is
Mhm.
actually important in reference to also to the care of the jacket. Go ahead.
And the DWR is essentially this invisible coating on the outside of the jacket. So don't hug your dog. Don't throw it in the back of your car if you've got an open bottle of sunscreen. What we're trying to do is, again, like durability and longevity. So I call this the burrito hack. When you take the jacket, fold it. I don't know if you can, yeah, I'm just essentially folding it. So it's basically the same width as the hood. So fold the sleeves over and then roll it up from the hem. Roll, 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 and then tuck that burrito right into the hood. Voila.
Yeah.
And you can even use the back hood draw cord adjustment to snug it down. And now you have this great little package where you are protecting most of the surface area of the jacket. So I do this with my jackets, stuff them in a pack, hand them off. And this way, it's not just like, rattling around in my pack, my car, and you're just ensuring the longevity of the DWR a little bit longer. And I'm also going to share the new way to think about DWRs. The official thing is it's durable water repellency, but now it means do wash regularly. So 2 takeaways. There you go.
So that's a great hack, Britt, and something definitely it's fun to share those little things with customers. And I think it's really interesting how you are leveraging the memberships of the co-op to be able to look at those reviews, to be able to get that input and come up with something that we know is going to work for your customer. And the Terrace is definitely the newest addition to the line, and it's really an exciting addition to be able to add. I think this jacket is going to be the jacket for everybody who's just looking for that one jacket just to really be comfortable in and just get out there and experience their life in, and it can take them anywhere. I expect I'm going to start to see this globally, as I often do, right? When I just got back from New Zealand and I saw a number of REI jackets out there. First of all, I know they're from the U.S., and then second, it's just cool to see them out there being used. I think this is going to start to spread throughout the world and be able to be used in many situations, and we're going to hear about it from the reviews. And also I think that does reflect for you all out there who are working with members. If they want to yak at you about their thoughts and their input, as I know they do, have them put it in the reviews, right, Britt? Because you're going to read them. So
I read every single review of our product, and we've created like dashboards to like cull keywords, etc. So yeah, every single one. And I often I'll look at a comparable product from another brand because our members write reviews about all the products that we sell.
yeah,
So please, yeah, good, bad, everything in between, please ask our people to write a review.
there you go. So that's how they get the direct line into the design team. Well, Britt, thank you so much. It's really fun to hear about what you put into the jackets. I'm happy that I get to share a little bit about what Gore puts into these jackets, and I think it's really this togetherness, this teamwork between Gore and REI that brings these best in class markets or best in class products to the market, and so that we can sell them to folks out there. So thanks for making awesome stuff, and I'm sure we'll get the opportunity to talk to you soon.
Thanks to Gore for making rad material, and thanks for everyone joining today. I love doing these presentations, and I love connecting with the crew, so thank you for attending.